Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We'll get to a lot of those here momentarily. But first, let's open up with something we haven't opened with in quite a while, recruiting. Let's talk recruiting, Jerry Hamilton.
Yeah, so there'll be a number of prospects on campus this weekend. This has been planned as the big visit weekend, first one of the season, because it's a night game, right? And this visitors list, there's a lot more to this. It'll expand over the course of this week or on Wednesday. There's some guys we know aren't coming. But as far as commitments, I think there's going to be more commitments of this. But these are three key commitments that are scheduled to be in. Obviously, Derek Cooper, official visit this weekend. James Johnson scheduled to come back in. Corey Wells, who Texas is really battling Auburn and to an extent Ole Miss to hold on to there. Corey Wells is scheduled to be in. That's why all the rumors of the flip have slowed down. I think Texas is worked to get him on campus, get him to a game at Texas, because he went to a game at Auburn a couple of weeks ago, get him in front of their coaching staff again, and because Texas wants Wells in the class and just see where this thing's going to head. Obviously, those are three big names. Miami continues to be after James Johnson and Derek Cooper. Auburn, Ole Miss after Corey Wells. And there's other prospects teams are recruiting that are committed to Texas. Obviously, a 26 prospect, and I do not think this will be the only one coming in committed elsewhere. Braylon Hodge, he confirmed, he told on Texas Football, we broke that news, that he was coming in this weekend unofficially for the game. He will be back. It sounds like, from what he's saying, the official visit is going to be the Texas A&M game weekend for Braylon Hodge, the linebacker out of Cherry Creek, committed to Michigan State. I think Texas is ahead of Michigan as far as the potential flip goes. He has two visits already on the books for Texas. I think Texas is going to be the school has the best chance to flip him from Michigan State. The 6'3", 210-pound linebacker is off to a really good start senior season.
Hey, Jerry, before you go to the 2027s, I got to ask you a question about Hodge. Do you feel like a flip is imminent, or you don't know?
Don't know yet. He's not like, I don't want to get ahead of this because he's
not necessarily a flip to Texas, but a flip away from Michigan State.
Yeah. So I think the main thing here is, I think Texas, again, is the favorite in that category. Okay. But he hasn't been on campus yet. So it's just chatter, because what happens if he comes on campus and him and Texas don't deem it a fit at that point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I think there's some things that have to happen there. But guys getting on campus is the big deal. After he gets on campus, I think we'll have more to know on okay, do both people deem this a fit? Then what's a timeline from there, right? So I think we'll know a lot more after this visit, after these guys actually meet in person for the first time, as Braylon Hodge, his family, and the Texas staff, which I think is very important in this process. So we'll see where it goes. But Kavian Bryant, and by the way, he will not be the only senior offer for Texas. We went through this last year. There'll be a 27 that reclasses, something along those lines. This will not be the only senior year offer. We're in September. We're on September 17th today, and there's already been one. Remember, Grayson Littleton wasn't offered till November last year. Zealous Hicks that reclass didn't become real until a little bit later in the season. So there's going to be some things happen in this class that are not known right now. 27 prospects. There's going to be a lot more than this. And of course, a couple of these guys could end up not coming in. You could get nicked up in a Friday night playoff game. You could have a transportation issue last second. I mean, these things do tend to change. But Kavian Bryant scheduled to be in as of today. As of yesterday. Antavius Ellis, the receiver at Crowley High. Ishmael Kamar, the stud offensive tackle at Gilmer. Brian Swanson, stud offensive tackle at South Oak Cliff. Eli Johnson, the safety from Cibolo Steel. By the way, I do think some of the Texas staff is going to get on the road recruiting this week. Thursday night games, even a Friday night game, because this is a night game on a Saturday. So the staff would have time to get out really for the first time this year. North Crowley plays on Thursday night. Don't be surprised if you don't see Kyle Flood and an area recruiter at a game like that, because the work week is done at that point. And then you also have time to get back to Austin. So I will expect to see the Texas staff members on the road a little bit this week, seeing some of the commitments, maybe somebody they're watching to potentially offer. But this list is going to be a lot bigger than this, but this is a starting point today for you guys. And ask your recruiting questions, and we'll get to as many as we can.
I just want to add a couple things. Well, you got this graphic. Oh, well, okay. I was going to say on this list, just Jerry, to reiterate what Jerry said, there are going to be more commitments than that this weekend on campus from what we've been told. Listing them all right now, maybe.
And again, like Bobby said, these are the three that are really being competitive right now.
Yes, exactly. And then the second part of that is that 2026 prospect. We're not just talking about new offers that are committed elsewhere that will be on campus this weekend. There's at least one recruit that's a big name that is committed elsewhere that's expected on campus, but we're not releasing that name at this time. And furthermore, those kind of situations can be tenuous. Obviously, that name will get brought out no later than game day if he does indeed show up as kind of expected.
Connor, Derek originally put out that he was going to come in next weekend, and that didn't. And I said that on video. That didn't make sense to me because when I was down there, the official visit weekend was set for this weekend, and this is the bye week for Chaminade Madonna. Got your Chaminade Madonna in early, so that didn't make sense to me that then they would come in the next week officially. The official visit is this week. Derek Cooper actually changed. I think he edited his tweet, is what he did about his official visit. And that didn't make sense to me at the time because I was like, hold on, that's the bye week. I mean, I was just down there last week. He is coming in for his official visit this weekend. And by the way, if you haven't seen the Derek Cooper interview, we posted that yesterday. Really good stuff. He's a sharp character, sharp kid, man.
All right, Bobby, before we move on, I'm going to let you tell everyone this morning about our sponsor, Adam Lowy.
Absolutely. Each and every Wednesday mornings, Coffee and Football, brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy. He's been helping injured Texans for 20-plus years. If you have been in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from ATV to 18-wheeler, and think you might be due compensation, make sure you reach out to Adam and his group. They'll give you a free, no-strings-attached consultation. That is Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. Again, LowyLawFirm.com. Thank you, Adam, for sponsoring On Texas Football and Coffee and Football and making shows like this possible. We really appreciate it.
Well, up next, guys, I thought we could take a look at the SEC slate of games this weekend. And obviously some big ones. Of course, Auburn, Oklahoma being talked about quite a bit in the chat, along with Florida and Miami. But curious to get y'all's thoughts on what you see here on the screen.
Well, Arkansas has to be ready. Memphis is a good team. They have the quarterback from Melissa that has 5 years experience that was at Colorado. Arkansas's got to be prepared for that game. I mean, Memphis is a quality G5 team with an experienced quarterback. Obviously, we're going to come back to Auburn, Oklahoma, and talk about that. Tulane at Ole Miss. Tulane, quality team, really good coach. A guy that'll probably be a P4 coach one day. South Carolina at Missouri. If Missouri wins that, look at their schedule. Obviously, Florida at Miami. The Florida running back coach has been suspended 3 games, so that includes Texas. But that's going to be the game that gets the most attention in the SEC because Miami's now ranked 4. And Florida, if they take another loss, I mean, Billy Napier won't be able to sit in any seat in Gainesville. They're all going to be too hot for his tushy. So that Florida-Miami game will be talked about the most, probably because of the implications potentially for Billy Napier, considering what's left on the schedule if they don't bounce back. And DJ Lagway had 5 interceptions last week. 5. And now he's going to Miami to play Miami. Bobby T. Brown. Here's one for you, Bobby. Bobby T. Brown asks, Auburn D-line against OU O-line. Who wins that one? What are your thoughts on Auburn, Oklahoma? It's an interesting game.
Well, Auburn has it's interesting because Auburn is they're typically extremely talented on the defensive line.
Yep.
They are young on the defensive line, but have talent.
Yes.
And I would say that with Fasusi starting at left tackle, they're also playing another freshman a lot right now. And I feel like with OU, and I watched a little bit of the Temple game now, I had a chance to do that yesterday, Jerry, or last night. They are, I mean, everything runs through John Mateer. Everything.
Yep.
And so if you're Auburn and you can focus on that, I think you got a chance, because the run game for OU is completely predicated on their quarterback being a threat. If you can somehow take Mateer away from being a threat as a runner, which is hard, I think Auburn has a better chance than maybe you would think it. The subtext to this game, though, is unbelievable.
It's awesome.
That's the whole
Jackson Arnold.
When I thought of this game back in the springtime when Jackson Arnold, I thought Jackson Arnold was going to follow Jeff Lebby to Mississippi State. I think we all kind of thought that was going to happen because Lebby had been the offensive coordinator and recruited him to OU. Lebby goes to Mississippi State last year, and I thought it's just going to be normal. He'll follow Lebby to Mississippi State. When Jackson Arnold chose to go to Auburn, Jerry and Blake, that meant he knew the schedule. He knew if he was the starting quarterback, he was going to return to Norman. Did he not?
Oh, yeah.
And so what does that mean for Jackson Arnold and OU and Auburn? And so, like I said, I think the subtext of this game, that you talk about a game that might really bruise the psyche of an Oklahoma program. I mean, if Auburn walks into Norman and beats OU, I'm not saying they will or that I'm predicting they will, but if they do, that's going to be chalk that one up as for Brent Venables.
Yeah, look, we talked about in the offseason. I think this would be the end of Brent Venables, whether he goes 8-4 or not, because here's the issue. Here's where this game gets so interesting. And by the way, I think Oklahoma's favored for a reason, but we'll see what happens. Oklahoma let Dylan Gabriel walk for Jackson Arnold because they knew Arnold was going to transfer. If not, and the 5-star rated quarterback out of Denton Guyer, the DFW area, which is the most important area for Oklahoma recruiting. So there was that. And then Dylan Gabriel leads Oregon to an undefeated season into the playoffs, even though it ended badly. It looked really bad for Venables. You chose the wrong guy, dude. Yeah. Now, Jackson Arnold, horrible year. Now, and I will still say this for the Oklahoma quarterbacks last year. Think about what Texas is going through right now with wide receivers. Oklahoma lost their top 4 for an extended period of time last year. So look at your Texas team right now, and you don't have Emmett Mosley, and you didn't have Moore. Take Ryan Wingo out of that and take Parker Livingstone out of that for half your season, and what are you left with? So I will say this, Oklahoma, those Oklahoma quarterbacks, that Oklahoma team was devastated by wide receiver injuries last year. Devastated. And then they had OL injuries on top of it. So Jackson Arnold becomes the scapegoat, right? And he didn't play well, but I'm just setting up this whole scenario. Now he's at Auburn. If he goes in and wins at Oklahoma, it's over. I don't know when it's over, but it's over because you let Dylan Gabriel walk and he goes and wins the Big Ten in year 1 and have an undefeated season. Yes, they lost in the playoff, then it ended badly. Then Jackson Arnold, if he walks in to Norman and leaves with a victory, I mean, it just can't, from a quarterback perspective, it doesn't get much worse than that for a coach. It can't.
Here's the hoping.
And by the way, part of this, Zane Petty asked, who will be the next coach at Florida? You know, if you didn't see Dabo Swinney's press conference yesterday, maybe it's going to be him.
Wow.
Bobby, I'm joking, but I'm not. Did you hear what Dabo said yesterday?
Oh, I saw it. Because it's blasted all over.
Sometimes is that a sign that this guy might be ready to, if a good situation? These guys know when they've stayed too long. You're going to stay there. If you're not going to be a national champion contender after you went to 4 games in 4 years. And I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see. Dabo might be open to a job for the first time in a while.
He was talking smack, that's for sure. I mean, he basically challenged Clemson to fire him.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like winning, just show me the door. That's what he said, basically.
Maybe he starts looking for a door.
That's what I was thinking. But look, Dabo's got that false bravado. I mean, anybody, if you followed him long enough, and y'all know what I'm talking about with false bravado. He's just one of those guys that has it.
Yeah.
He always has, and he always will. Doesn't make him a better or worse coach, by the way. It just makes him him.
Yeah.
So I'm not faulting him for that. I'm just saying that's just kind of who he is. He'll say what I would consider dumb stuff like that all the time.
But here's the thing I want to say, because people are talking about who could be the next coach at Florida. Here's what I'll say to this for anybody that has an opening right now. Like, people are throwing the name Dan just in the chat and around. Oh, Dan Lanning. Well, he's going to be in the playoff probably. Any coach that's in the playoff is not going to be the guy hired by Florida, because you have the portal window, you have signing day. It's hard to hire a coach that's in the playoff if you have a job opening. Very difficult from a timing perspective.
I want to say this about the Florida job and how it ties into Texas, if you don't mind, Jerry.
Yeah.
So there's some thought behind the scenes that kind of like the Jimbo Fisher situation, where A&M had made the decision to let go of Jimbo Fisher, and they didn't want to give him the opportunity to beat LSU late to keep his job. There's some thought process that something similar is going on with Florida and Billy Napier this weekend in Miami.
Yes.
He loses to Miami. There is some thought that may be all she wrote. So I'm not saying that's confirmed or going to happen, but he loses this weekend. Florida's got a decision to make, because to your point, Jerry, if they don't get on a hire sooner rather than later with the December signing period now in recruiting, you can get absolutely hosed in recruiting.
Yeah.
Absolutely hosed. And I would just tell you that people are going to make decisions sooner than they normally would in recruiting nowadays. And it's been going on a couple of years, and I think we'll continue to see it. And I do think that that's right, that those odds that Blake has put up on the screen, Billy Napier, the first to be fired, or actually the next to be fired, because two have already been fired.
Yeah.
Deshaun Foster got let go as well yesterday or day before over at UCLA. So Napier, the next in line. If they lose to Miami, I think there may be an interim, but we'll before Texas plays them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I would say this too. The reason it would matter for Florida job to open up a little earlier, to Bobby's point, because if you lose to Miami by a couple touchdowns, I know people are saying close game line, a lot of line movement, but just say lost by a couple touchdowns. What if he comes back and beats Texas in 2 weeks? Then you have a chance to turn it around a little bit, or at least get to 7 or 8 wins. And I think that's no man's land for Florida right now.
They're tired. The South Florida thing was the last straw.
Yes.
That's what I'm being told.
Yes.
And so it's not that he turned it around last year, right? That they thought they may not want to give him that opportunity to fake turn it around,
right,
with a 1-3 record going into Texas.
I agree. And then the other part of that piece of that is the reason it's big if the Florida job opens up early is so Jimmy Sexton could get the rest of his guys new contract extensions, because they get before getting one of his other guys the job.
I'm sure
plenty of time to get everybody raises that turn down the job before he gets somebody he wants hired for the job anyways. If we're being real. If real's being real. Somebody asked, do we think Dabo's on the hot seat? Dabo should not be on the hot seat at Clemson. I mean, that's just ridiculous. This is the situation where you better be careful what you wish for. Because if you think, when's the last time Clemson had been really good before?
Or relevant.
Relevant. 80, 81.
82, I think they won the national championship, right?
Yeah, early 80s. Then had a first-round offensive lineman drafted since that team. I mean, still haven't, but I mean, the guy went to 4 national championship games and won 2 of them. Good luck ever having that happen again. Be careful if you're Clemson. Although I do think he's adapting to the game, to the changes in the game too late.
Guys, Tony Hill's going to join us here in a little bit. He's running a little late, he said, but he'll be up with us. It'll be Hump Day with Hills, one of our favorites as well. We got a number of different topics to get to. Jerry, I want to bring this up, if you don't mind. Blake, y'all don't mind?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Radio, Dunham and Miller. This is from R. Charnell. So there were only two things to explain Arch's struggles: injured, number one, or two, he's not good. They put no credence in the middle side of the game. I just got to tell you, he's not injured. And two, the he's not good piece, this is the same dude, and we mentioned it yesterday, that went 26 of 31 last year against Mississippi State. So writing guys off, and I wrote this, and I want to say this now as I get an opportunity, because I did have a chance to speak with some folks inside the building yesterday and today, even early this morning. And I would tell you that the Texas coaching staff does not feel like this is a long-term issue that they have on their hands at all. They feel very excited and upbeat about the season because they think the quarterback issue is temporary. And they think that their defense is maybe better than they even expected. And their kicking game is back to being as good or better than anybody's in the country, in their opinion.
Yeah.
So all of us Debbie doubters, not downers, but doubters, it's not necessarily how the Texas coaching staff right now is seeing this football team, because in 2 or 3 phases, they think they may be elite. Not good, but elite. And they think the issues at quarterback and on offense, as a result of that, are temporary. So let's see what happens, not just against Sam Houston State, but across the board. Because if Arch does turn it around, I'm just telling you, Texas is going to be a tough out. And that's the general thought process. They don't think he's injured, and they don't think he's no good.
Yeah.
So Dunham and Miller, I
was going to say, I don't listen to Dallas radio, and why would I? So I'm going to sound like a complete arse when I say this, but I don't really care. If they're, again, if it's out of context, people in the chat, let me know. But if they're saying there's no chance it's a mental thing with them, with Arch, then I would just say you got 2 rocks added to a box. It doesn't work that way in sports.
We're about to bring Tony Hills on, but first, Bobby, I need you to tell everyone this morning about Mint Mobile.
I can do that, my man, if you don't mind. You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends for Texas football games, I'll be having a 4-day weekend this week. Your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why you can make the switch to Mint Mobile. It's the wireless plan I sent my son off to college with. With Mint, you can get the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling, literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. Upfront payment of $45 is required, equivalent of $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas.
And I'm going to tell everyone this morning about Prize Picks as well, because we make decisions daily. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. And football season's now here, so it's time to make that money. It's simple. You're just going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and, of course, right here in the great Lone Star State as well. And I'm back on that college football action today. I have Carson Beck having more than 271 passing yards, John Mateer to actually have less than 254, and Michigan running back Justin Haynes to have more than 82 yards rushing. So come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real cold hard cash. Download the Prize Pick app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. Run your game.
You want to know what my bet is?
What's
I placed
that?
a bet this morning. It was Tony Hills would be wearing a hoodie, and Tony Hills will bring the energy. Let's see if I'm right.
Oh, you win. Good morning, Tony.
Listen, I've been chomping at the bit to go off, man, and pop my stuff, like we like to say back in the hood. We got to pop my stuff this morning. What's up, Coffee and Football? It's your man, Tony the Tycoon. Let's jump into this day, man. I'm ready. Let's go.
Tony, lethargic offensive performance against UTEP. A lot of stunning and twisting by the defensive line of UTEP. What did you see, irrelevant of the quarterback play? I just want to talk about offensive line first. What did you see that you thought was good, bad, ugly?
So we'll start with the good. The running game is showing promise. I really like our running game. And it's so funny, right? Because we sat here a year ago and talked about how Texas, they would struggle at times in the running game. So now it seems as though the running game is picking up. What I liked about the Texas offensive line is there is physicality there. I believe what we're seeing is just the growing pains of a unit that hasn't, played a lot of games. And we're seeing different looks. I know when we look at the helmet on the other side of the jersey, we automatically expect 45, 50-point blowouts because of our capability, right? But what I believe has to start happening is we have to start looking at Texas for where they are now, right? We're already looking at them from a lens of where we project them to be, and we're not giving them the room for the growing process. Now, here's the reality. When you're playing teams that are less inferior, that are inferior to your talent pool, you have to dominate. And I believe on the bad side, I'm not seeing the consistent domination. But that goes back to the last few weeks. There's always been inconsistencies, right? So when you start to clean up some of the issues that you're having from an inconsistent standpoint, right? And I'm talking about simplistic things. Let's not get holding calls when we have big explosive plays, right? Let's not jump off sides, right? Let's not give up short edges on pass rush, right? Let's make sure we're taking the proper drop back angles. But I also understand that an offensive line more than any other position, it's one of those things to where the more in-game competition that you get, and reps that you get, the better you become, right? And some people will say, well, isn't that, all positions you get better as you play? Yes, but here's the difference. If I'm a receiver, that receiver is just responsible for him getting better. If I'm a quarterback, that quarterback is responsible for him getting better. If I'm a running back or a tight end, I am responsible for me getting better. If I am an offensive line, we are responsible for all of us being dominant, playing together, and then getting better. That is a little bit of a longer process. For me personally, I know the individual that's in that room coaching those individuals, and I believe that it's going to take place. And the last point that I'll make is this. I dealt with this when we were at Texas. There was a time at Texas when you won 10 games, that was like, wow, we just had the best season ever. Then there became a time where it shifted, where if you won 10 games, it's a down year. Yep. Sarkisian has set a very high level of expectation because of how quick he turned Texas around. But we forget 5-7. We forget 8-5, right? And so now that we've had back-to-back successful seasons, the viewership from the fan is, oh, we have these names, we're looking real good. These players play good at spots. Clearly, we're going to be the team of the creme de la creme. Guess what? Here's the reality. That hasn't changed. What has changed is our expectation of where we believe Texas would be week 3 or 4 in the season, right? And based off of what we're seeing. All teams go through issues, right? We're talking about dominance. Georgia just played Tennessee. That wasn't a dominant performance, but guess what? The team that had the most points on the board won. So as long as Texas continues to understand where their problem areas are, they continue to work on that, and we continue to win games, we're going to be fine. Here's the rebuttal. But they're doing things that can cost you a win. I understand that. That's the reason why you continue to go to practice. You continue to get in the film room, and you continue to do things to tighten those things up. I want to see the biggest jump is going to be from the time they play Sam Houston until we get into Florida, right? That time window is going to be the biggest jump to where you can kind of project and see who Texas is and where they're going to be. Because after 4 or 5 weeks, if those same issues are continuing to pop up, then you have to understand that this is more than likely something that they're just going to have to overcome. Now, here's the beautiful thing. We are elite in 2 areas. Special teams. We got a kicker. He puts up points. Somebody we can count on. Appreciate you. Punt return was phenomenal. Kickoff return. We're going to get there, right? Defense. What are we talking about? I'm telling you as somebody who was a part of an offense who we always had this stigma of where their offensive line this and the offensive line that, and they're inconsistent here and they're inconsistent there. We had defense, number 1 in the NFL, and we had special teams, top 10 in NFL. And you know what that equal to? A ring. So at the end of the day, it is a team game. Yes, the offense needs to mature faster, but we have these two pillars in the triangle in place. That gives our offense time to continue to elevate. And elevate they will. I'm not counting Arch out at all. And I believe what's going to happen is once he does whatever is going on, because I do think it's mental. I'm going to believe the person who's telling me. I'm going to believe the person that's telling me, hey, man, it's not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. Great. We can get over that hurt. I'd much rather it be a mental thing than a physical thing because a physical thing can limit you. A mental thing is switching the belief system. So I'll leave it at that because I'm over here working up a sweat. You're
getting your second workout in, Tony. Hey,
man,
so
look here. Gotta pat myself like a pastor. Come on.
There's been 2 offensive linemen that have been asked about the most in the chat this week.
Yep.
I want to ask you about the first one is right tackle Brandon Baker.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first 3 starts of his college career. What have you seen from Brandon Baker? You saw him up close at spring practices, a couple of fall practices. Kind of your thoughts on Brandon Baker, what you've seen so far, and where you think he can go as a player, how far he has to go.
Yeah, I think he has a tremendous ceiling. I just believe he's in a position of where he's figuring out how to be a starter, right? I mean, listen, man. To go from doing it sometimes to now you have to do it all the time, that takes time. I know that we've seen some phenomenal players come in here, right? But there's a reason that Kelvin Banks is Kelvin Banks, right? When you plugged and played that individual as a freshman, it was like, wow, this guy is special. He ended up becoming the best tackle in the freaking college football, right? But you had others like Big Cam that had to work his way into that space, and he figured it out as the season went along. I believe that Brandon Baker has all the talent, has all the makeup, and has the ability. The only thing holding Brandon Baker back from being elite is Brandon Baker, period and point blank. It's not the coaching. We know the coaching is there, right? It is the inexperience. He has to get better fast, extremely fast. And it is the small things that he's doing that he can control, right? Stop dropping your outside foot back and giving up short edges. You can control it. Stop jumping off sides. You can control it, right? Making sure you open up on your inside leg and get your shoulder underneath on backside cutoffs. You can control it. So all of these things that are issues, guys, are controllable. That's the reason why I don't panic. I'm like, okay, that's just an experience thing. We got to work on this thing. So for me, how I operated is when I went back and watched the tape and I saw where I was weak at, I would write my weaknesses down. And in each practice every day, I would focus on that one thing. I wouldn't focus on, like all of the things that I'm doing well. I will focus on this one thing to get that thing as elevated as I can. And I believe that that's what Brandon Baker needs to do. But from a talent perspective, he's a starter for a reason.
So I want to follow up with that because a lot of people in all this week have been, should he be moved to guard? I obviously, I think he's a tackle athlete. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're quick to forget that he picked Texas over Ohio State, Georgia, and Oregon. It was all college football playoff teams that recruited him as a tackle. So you've seen him up close, tackle athleticism, tackle player that's learning. Yeah. I think he's got some of the. It feels like he's got some of the same things going on that Arch does. By the way,
I want to say this about Brandon Baker. You guys realize he didn't give up a single pressure against UTEP. I mean, so he is not playing poorly overall.
No.
In my opinion, any perception that he is, I think, is misplaced. Is he perfect? No, but this entire offensive line isn't perfect at this point. Tony, a question for you from Keith. And let's get to this. Tony, please tell me why it seems like we see so many free rushers in our scheme. Why don't we have a hat on a hat more often? I see us trying to reach second level and running by rushers too often. Do you agree with that assessment, first of all? And then if so, why?
I can't say that I agree with that assessment, just predicated off of how I look at the run game. When you run the ball like we run the ball, the first level is definitely being dealt with. So without me like truly understanding what he's seeing, I wouldn't be able to answer that question in fully. From my perspective, I don't see that. The reality is that there's one area that Texas needs to improve rapidly, and that's the passing game. And it's not just, listen, the thing is, we talk about, okay, well, Arch this is Arch that, right? But let's talk about some other things. When he does make the passes, we've had situations where the receivers drop the ball. Like, it's not just one issue. Or if the receiver is there and the pass seems to be there, then we've given up an untimely pressure or an untimely sack. Or we've done everything right. This is what I'm talking about, the continuity. We've done everything right, but then we got a holding call or some sort of penalty that negates it. So the explosive plays are there. When he missed, I believe it was Livingstone in the end zone, he overthrew. That's an adjustment thing, right? Like, I believe we're in one of those situations to where I have two thoughts. We're in one of those situations to where Texas fans are riding high on the previous success that we have and not allowing this team to develop. This team has to develop. There's a lot of moving parts. So give them time to develop. That's the one thing that I would say. As it pertains to Brandon Baker, if we're going to be honest with Brandon Baker, this stems back to one thing, the play in Ohio State. That's really what this all comes back to.
They have this preconceived notion, right? You have the preconceived notion that now this is an issue and it's going to be a perceived issue until he proves otherwise, I guess.
Correct. And it's to your point, Bobby, as it pertains to pressure. Like, when you look at Baker overall, he's not playing bad. The issue that Baker has is that we call it in situational football moments. There's a lapse in mental lock-in in my perspective. And the reason why I say mental lock-in, because it's in situational football now, false start, right? Or holding penalty. Like, I understand these things happen. They just can't happen in those moments, right? And again, all of that can be fixed. So we just have to give this team time to develop. So I'm looking forward to next week to see what those changes look like. And look, at the end of the day, who knows his unit better than Coach Flood? And my thing is this: could we all agree that Coach Flood might know what he's doing and what he's talking about? If we can't agree to that, then more than likely the issues that we're seeing are going to get fixed. I don't believe it's anybody that's working harder in that room to make sure that his unit is operating at its optimum than Coach Flood and those guys there that in that offensive line room.
A question about Flood, actually, because this has come up on our site, on our message board, Tony, and I wanted to make sure I thought on it. And that is that somehow Kyle Flood's the fault here. His evaluation is
That's crazy, bro.
yeah. So no, seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
it needs to be discussed in a way that people can understand and get on board with what you're talking about, because there are those out there that are saying Kyle Flood's not doing well enough, et cetera. They can't move people. What are your thoughts on Kyle Flood as a coach?
Okay. My thoughts on Kyle Flood. Let me answer the question, and I'll go back and answer that statement, because that's a wild statement. They can't move people. That if it's one thing that Texas does well, is they're moving people. Like, I don't know what film you're watching, but go back and look at the running game stats and go back and look at how these guys are getting people displaced. Look at the line of scrimmage. Are there times that the other team wins? Yes, but for the majority of the game, we do what we want to do. Like when you can run the ball on rundowns and get yards, that's you doing what you want to do. So that's that. Kyle Flood and his evaluation of talent, right? How many offensive linemen were drafted prior to Kyle Flood, and how many offensive linemen have been drafted since he's been? That's how I answer that. Evaluation of talent. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Before any of you guys knew who Trevor Gooseby was, Kyle Flood knew Trevor Gooseby, right? Before any of you guys knew who Kelvin Banks was, Kyle Flood knew Kelvin Banks. Cam Williams, he knew these guys, right? He took on a team. He took on players that weren't even the guys that he went and hand selected. And every last one of those guys, from left tackle to right tackle, all had an opportunity in the NFL. So I don't believe Kyle Flood's evaluation of offensive line talent is in question. I believe what you have is people are quick to judgment because they're not seeing what they want to see at the timing that they want to see it. I don't have a problem with Kyle Flood. And this is I don't believe that's a Texas fans thing. Maybe you can enlighten me on if it is. I believe that's an outsider thing, because look, even with us not playing well, we're still competitive. What happens when we do? That's my question. Not playing up to our standard. And we're still beating people by 20 plus points.
Yeah, I think people talking that way are just mind numbing a little bit, because you can't be great one year and then mediocre the next and all of a sudden think it's the coach's fault. All right. Jose Siciliano, Mr. Hills. He's calling you Mr.
Oh, man.
I ain't doing that.
I can see pastor, but I don't know about Mr. I completely agree. Deacon Hills. There we go. I agree with you about the OL. I didn't think they played as bad as everyone thinks they did. It wasn't perfect by any means, but there were clean pockets, and it's hard to run on constant
loaded. That's a great point. That is a great point. And we still did it.
Yeah, 200 plus yards rushing against
You know what came out of the UTEP game, right? If we're looking at gems that come out of the UTEP game, Simon came out of the UTEP game. The kid can play.
Yeah, no doubt.
So if we're going to have situations to where, and I haven't looked at the injury reports about Baxter, but if we're going to have situations to where there's a little up and down with him as he's trying to get back and stay healthy, it's good to know that we were able to find that gem early, because he's trusted, right? And he reminds me a lot of Selvin Young, the way that he has a one-cut read. That's how Selvin was. Yeah. It was a one-cut read. Like, I'm gonna hit this cut. When I see the lane, I'm hitting it, right? There's not a lot of dancing around. I can tell you as an offensive line, you love that, because it allows the block to form up faster. So the running game is, like I said, that travels. You have a running game, you have a defense and special teams, all of those things travel. We'll get the passing game and all of that stuff fixed. And Texas will start playing at the elite level that I believe that they're capable of, because I know they want to do that. It's not like they're sitting in the room saying, oh, yeah, you know what, this week we're going to go out and be trash. It's not what's happening. This is called growing pains, people. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but there's a certain thing in football called growing pains. And you rather yourself start to peak a little in the middle of the season than to peak too early. That's just the reality of it.
Burt Reynolds has a question here. What about against Georgia and Ohio State? Is that just a situation of maybe no matter who the offensive line is, they're going to have issues against teams like that?
I mean, every team has a team, you know, like how you know, you look up and I mean, look, in 2008, Cleveland beat us and we were clearly the better team. Every team has a matchup, right? I do believe that, you know, Mac had Oklahoma, right? And then every once in a while, Texas Tech would pop up. There's always a team that you know you're going to have a issue with or struggle with, right? I don't know. We'll have to see about Texas and Georgia this year because it's not the same. It's not the same Georgia team, right? So the matchup is different. I can't go off of what Georgia did last year. I'm looking at Georgia this year, right? And look, I get it. Tennessee has a very prolific offense, right? But at the same time, there's gaps there. Kirby sees it. Like his team has issues too. So at the end of the day, it's when these two teams meet, which team has been able to be more consistent, which team knows themselves the most, and which team is going to make the least amount of mistakes to win the game, right? But for me, I'll say this though too. Other opponents are just nameless great faces. This is about Texas versus Texas every week. It's not about the people that they play. It's about Texas versus Texas.
That's why I think so many people want to see Arch Manning take the next step. We've spent a lot of time talking about the offensive line, but going up against a Sam Houston State defense that allows the pass 100 plus, ranked 100 plus in the country. A lot of people hoping that. All right, Tony. Thank you.
I got one more question.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were around guys that had the mental issue going right now, right? Between the years.
Yeah.
When the confidence goes, everything breaks down. If you can think back to when you were around the play, and I know it's different because Arch has the pressure of the world on him, literally in football. Did you watch somebody go through a process like that ever? Do you remember that? Or have you been around somebody that did, and kind of what is that like from an other player's standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, it was people that I've played with that had that issue going on. It happens. The reality is that as a teammate, all you can do is encourage them because it's the demons in their head that's causing them to think, you know, certain things, right? I believe. So I'll speak to your question and I'll speak to Arch. There's a certain player that I played with. Very good player from a talent perspective, but mentally there was things that he struggled with when he made mistakes. Didn't know how to let things go. And what happens is that when that happens, your game starts to tailspin, you know, crazily because you're still thinking about a play that happened a couple plays ago, whether I got beat on a sack, or, you know, I missed a block, the running back gets his, whatever it is, right? For me, I'm a person that I read people. Some people don't tell them what they did good. That's not what motivates them. I need you to tell me, you know, hey, bro, you could do better here. Or, hey, bro, like that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that sucked. They feed off of that. Other players, you have to encourage them to let them know, look, man, hey, man, we're human. It's all right. We're gonna make mistakes. Get back in there. Get back on the horse and keep riding. Right. The players that have been able to come out of that flourish. The other side of that is the players that have not been able to come out of that continue to struggle until something happens. Right. And I don't even know if I should put this in the atmosphere because people nowadays read into so much. But like, there have been times where you would put a player in and that player didn't play their best. So you sat the player down and you sat him down for a few weeks and let him recalibrate. And then when you plug that player back in, it's happened one or two ways. He's either going to flourish or he's going to tank. I'm not saying that you need to bench Arch. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm giving you guys different perspectives of how when you're playing this game, it's a very hard game. And you'll have guys that'll get on here and they won't be honest, right? They're gonna be macho and they're gonna tell you, hey man, listen, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen type of thing. But the reality is like, hey man, I understand what you're saying, but if you're gonna sit up here and tell me that there was never doubts that you had, or you question your ability at some point in time, then you have to get away from me because you're a liar, right? because even me as a starter, when I would have certain games, as strong as my mental is, there would be doubts that would creep in and say, like, man, hey, bro, are you truly who you say you are? Or are you a pretender? Right now, because the way I'm wired, I would take my mind to a really dark place to increase aggression, because aggression and passion is how I played the game. Right. That's what works for me. So I'll say this. Anybody that's dealing with that type of thing in the game, players have to be supportive of that individual, and that player has to make the decision and understand what works for them to get themselves out of that. When he does, the whole college football world is on notice. I promise you that. I promise you that, because Arch doesn't seem to me as a type of person that's just going to sit there and take some stuff. He seems to me as, I'm going to figure it out. And when I figure it out, I'm going to show you what time it is. And that's the Arch that I can't wait to see, because I'm going to get back on this show and I am going to tell y'all, I freaking told you so. What I'm going to do. I'm that guy. I'm not the guy that's going to say, oh, I don't want to say I told you so. I do. I told you so. So I'm riding with Arch. I'm riding with Sark. I'm riding with my team. I'm a homer, call it what you want, but I've seen success. And I've seen it with this team, and I've seen the people in those buildings create it consistently. And oh, how we have forgotten. I haven't forgotten. Oh, how we have forgotten those dark times. So if we're sitting up here at what, 2-1, right? With 20-point plus blowouts, and we're saying all the world is falling, I'm cool with that. Before y'all get me out of here, shout out to Jay Hills. Happy New Year, little bro.
Yeah.
You're old now.
Is it Jeremy's birthday today?
Oh,
yeah, man. 9/17. You know, I never talk about my mom as it pertains to, you know, how great she is and things like that. She's a great woman, smart woman. The only mistake that she made was on 9/17/1989. Other than that, she's lived a great life.
Tony, thank you so much for your time, buddy. You have a good one, and hook 'em horn, man. Take care. That's Tony Hills, our friend. Just a really good guy, and always fun to be around. I got to mention this before we get to an ad read, guys. Blake Monroe had power go out in his office. So he's going to try to rejoin us. Jerry, please do us the favor and do our next read, and that is from the guys over at Ridge.
Bobby, there was no offensive joke in there with Blake's power going out. All right. Ridge Wallet, one of the best products out there with over 50 colors and styles. Ridge Wallet isn't just functional, it's personal. Whether you want a sleek back, black forged carbon fiber, a wallet that features your favorite NFL team, or one that just matches your vibe, they've got you covered. Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all products. Ready to upgrade your wallet and maybe your ride? Because those wallets in the back pocket, man, makes for a bad multi-hour ride. We've all been there. For a limited time only, head to ridge.com and use code ONTEXAS, all caps, at checkout for 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstakes ever: a Lamborghini, a Velociraptor, or $100,000 in cash. No purchase necessary to enter, but in every dollar you spend, get you more entries. That's ridge.com and use ONTEXAS, all caps. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard them from. Say that offensive juggernaut on Texas football.
Jerry, you're something else, man. I tell you what. We got a lot to still talk about. Talked a little bit about recruiting. I want to mention this real quick, if you don't mind. We have a event tomorrow night in Austin. Please come out and hang out with us. Mason Shipley, by the way, will be there with us. It's on part of Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. Hargrove Roofing, with offices across the state of Texas. They are having their burnt orange night at Hole in the Wall on the drag. Come out around 5 o'clock, 4:30. Jerry, Rod, myself, Jeff Howe, CJ Vogel will all be there, along with Mason Shipley. Stevie Lee will be in town as well, hanging out. We'll have a live broadcast from the Hole in the Wall. So come out. If you're a student or are in town early and just want to hang out at an old stomping ground around the University of Texas, again, that'll be around 4:30, 5 o'clock tomorrow over at Hole in the Wall, courtesy of our friends at Hargrove Roofing. Hey, I wanted to mention this because somebody asked this question relatively early in the chat, and this deals with Mason Shipley, actually from Texas Horns Up. Just wondering why Shipley was kicking off instead of Will Stone. Did they just not want to kick it out of the end zone? That's not the case. I asked about that actually earlier this morning with somebody. Stone was a little dinged up, had some issues. He should be back either this week or in a couple of weeks, but it wasn't. The torch hasn't been passed somehow to Mason Shipley in this scenario. Stone was out injured a little bit, nagging injury, not something that should cause a long-term issue. Bean, let's go to the chat line. So we're going to be a 12 points in field goals type of team, hoping the O can see the end zone 3 times. Defense will rise to the occasion with anybody. You know, that this goes back, I think, a little bit to what I was talking about earlier, Jerry, and what I was talking with someone yesterday and today about, and how the feeling is inside DKR right now. And I'm just telling you, there's no fire drill right now inside the Texas coaching staff. They're focused on getting things turned around on offense. They believe the situation at quarterback is temporary, and they have a great defense, and they think their kicking game may be elite too. So, Bean, New York Giants won some Super Bowls with that kind of mix. Hopefully, though, we see an offense that improves week over week, because that's probably the one place where we haven't seen it all, right? We haven't seen that true release of what they can be. Jerry, what do you think about that?
Well, it's not going to win because it's the same thing.
What do you mean it's not going to win what?
Well, look, so if because that's the talk of the LSU fan base right now too, right? Is, oh, good on defense, but can you keep scoring 20 points and actually compete? Maybe make a play. Can you compete when you get there? The answer to that's no. Just look at the national championship winning scores and the scores of many games in the playoffs. It's, LSU's scored 17, 23, and 20, I think it was. And their fans are saying, hey, man, how's this going to go if you can't score more points? I think Texas fans at the same place playing much less schedule. So I just don't think that there's too many good quarterbacks, too many good players on your schedule to think you can go just play defense, punt, and score 20, 21 a game. And maybe you squeak in the playoffs doing that, maybe, but I don't think it's a guarantee. I just think the rules are made for offense. This game's made for offense. Sports are made for offense. It's entertainment. It's better for TV. Just take a look at all the reasons. But it's going to be hard if you average 20, 21, 22 points a game to make a college football playoff. That's my take.
I'm not saying average that.
Yeah. But
I do think that there's a path there, but the offense does have to improve. There's no two ways.
Because here's the problem with this, Bobby, is it's just like basketball. It's great to play great defense, but at some point somebody's going to have a good day. Maybe 2 or 3 teams are going to have a good day and score 27, 28 against your good defense. It's going to happen at sports. So then what happens when that reality hits? Can you go score 30? Can you score 28? Can you score 27 if they score 24? It's the whole Kelvin Sampson at U of H thing. It's why it's always been tough for him to get over the hump, because those games you just got to find more offense. Can you go do it? And those are the hard things when you're really a defensive team. The other thing too is you don't want to get into a lower possession team in today's day and age of college football. I just don't. Ohio State does it as well as anybody does to get to that 60 to 65 play. I think they averaged 61 plays per game last year. I don't think that's Texas formula. I don't think that's the team Texas has. That's my problem.
Okay, fair. All right, Wizards select basketball. There's been a lot of comparisons to Garrett Gilbert from years ago. What went wrong with Garrett? How is it different from Arch Manning? I'd really like to know your expert opinions on what went wrong with Garrett Gilbert. Garrett played in a different style of offense, first of all, coming out of high school. He played in a very quarterback-friendly offense, always in the gun, always with a lot of wide receivers really open.
Schemed up really well by Chad Morris.
Yeah, and I think that Garrett was I think Arch Manning could be a 1-1 draft pick. I know that people are, after 11-25 UTEP, people are saying, what are you talking about? I still think he has that kind of ability. I don't know that Garrett Gilbert ever had that kind of ability. And so what went wrong? I think Garrett was a little slow on the uptake and got forced into playing early in his career, and it mushroomed. And the personnel around him wasn't necessarily as good as it had been when other players were there too. I think a lot of things went wrong with Garrett Gilbert. What's your take, Jerry? Because you were in the midst of that too.
Yeah. Look, he was in the Under Armour game. He threw to his first read in high school over 90% of the time, based on talking to somebody that would 100% know. And it was schemed open. And I'm not saying – what I am saying is this is my hesitation with quarterbacks at times that are on really, really, really good high school teams, is they don't play under duress a lot. Like a Longview game was one, maybe. And Lake Travis was tremendous. They won 2 state titles in a row. Really, really good football team. Played a high level of execution of football on both sides of the ball and deserved their state titles. Garrett also was he was the National Gatorade Player of the Year. He came to Texas. He was the quarterback after Vince Young and Case McCoy. Colt McCoy, not Case McCoy. Vince Young and Colt McCoy. There is similarity from a pressure standpoint, although it's much, much more magnified with a Manning, especially where we are in social media today. He was following 2 legends at Texas at quarterback when they tried to change offense, an offense that he didn't grow up playing in. There were a lot of things there with that. Now, I didn't think Garrett was Gatorade National Player of the Year. I didn't see him that way. But he came with an immense amount of pressure too. And look, he still ended up making it in the NFL. He went to play for June Jones at SMU. It was a much different and longer path than people thought to actually have a backup third-team NFL career. But there were a lot of things within that somewhat might have been known in high school a little bit. But he put himself in the ultimate pressure cooker. There is no doubt about that. And then Texas changed an offense that he wasn't accustomed to playing in.
All right, Sugarcane Daddy, the coaching staff feels good about the struggles being temporary. Is that due to the belief that Arch will snap out of it and things start clicking? I think it's that. I think it's the fact that Emmett Mosley is still due back. And I also think that you got to realize they've been without their top 2 running backs against UTEP and one of their top 2 against San Jose State. So it's a mix of things, as well as the offensive line getting more snaps together. I think that, look, I said in the preseason, I thought that the offense would take time. My problem and I mentioned this earlier this week, is I thought the offense would not be as low as it has been to date. Okay. And they would start growing out of it. We haven't seen the growth out of it yet. Behind the scenes, I don't think they're as worried as Longhorn Nation is. They're not running. I use the term, they're not running a fire drill because they're not. Yeah. They're trying to coach through it and they think they can. So
by the way,
that's where it's at.
By the way, I want to say this, Roger, because this is a great point. I think when we were talking about Garrett Gilbert and guys now, we've talked about this, and I'll say this, man. It's like for quarterbacks now in major college football, they are not amateurs. They're getting paid 7 figures a year. So we can say, oh, college football, but come on, man. Guys are getting paid 7 figures a year. So they're treated like a pro, and they have the expectation of being that level guy, even if it's, and I'm not talking about Arch, I'm talking in general, even if the growth process isn't really fair to that because they're still a young football player. But when you're in college making 7 figures a year, the expectation of results definitely change. There's something to that, and that's for the players. There's a great side of NIL, and I hope they're all do great with their money and have the right people around them in their life. But the downside of that is, man, your expectations certainly change.
All right, a couple more questions. I got to say this. I want to put this out there into the ether now. In about 5 minutes here, we're going to give away a pair of tickets to the Texas Sam Houston State game. A couple of pair based on a trivia question that you have to answer. Okay, the email to answer the trivia question will be on texasfootball@gmail.com. On texasfootball@gmail.com. So get ready for that, and it is brought to us by our friend Adam Lowy at the Lowy Law Firm. He's going to give away a couple of those tickets. So again, on texasfootball@gmail. I'll ask the trivia question here after we get through a few more of these super chats. All right, Burt Reynolds, I want OU to do just enough for Brent Venables to keep his job. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you want to see? I mean, look, if Venables goes, that puts a lot of those guys immediately in turmoil as far as its existing roster. Isn't it better for, teams to lose their coaches these days than to kind of go just hang on, Jerry? Especially teams in conference that you play every year?
Yeah, look, I don't know on that. I think I have fun with that stuff all the time. But the reality is, I think Oklahoma could hire a better fit for modern college football than Brent Venables.
Yeah.
So there is a downside to that job coming open if you're a Texas fan, or even if you're an A&M fan, because you're both in the SEC now recruiting the same players in this state. What happens if Oklahoma fires Brent Venables and they hire the next high-flying offensive coach?
Yeah.
The grass, you never know, man. If they make the right hire, and now depending on their rev share plus NIL, where some of the issues they may be facing, but if they go hire a fun offensive coach that draws kids in, it's something to be wary of there, because you never know what's going to happen.
All right, here we go. Congratulations, Jay Noisy. Missing my first Texas game in 10 plus years due to getting married. What are you doing having a fall wedding, man? Rich Clark will officiate the wedding. I'll have him put in a good word for UT. Congratulations, bud. Congratulations on getting married. Although I have to say, rule number 1, get married in the spring. You should have pulled that off, man, if you're a football fan. Jeff Carey, to win with special teams and defense, you need to get 2 to 3 turnovers net and a low amount of penalties. They do have to play cleaner brand of football, Jeff. There is nothing inaccurate about that statement at all, in my opinion. Nothing inaccurate about it. I agree with you. All right, let's go forward with this ticket giveaway now, if you don't mind, Jerry. Here is the trivia question. Again, email me at ontexasfootball@gmail.com. The first 2 people that do will get 2 free tickets to the game this weekend. Okay, ontexasfootball@gmail.com. Who holds the Texas school record for single game total offense? Who holds the Texas single game record for total offense? All right, there we go. I'll give you the answer later if you're able to. Sarah O, I hope if you're coming to the game, I hope you get this answer quickly because I saw you mention you're coming to the game with your OU sister. So I hope you get this one. All right, Jerry, final comments as we get going today before we let folks out of here this morning and get ready for the next couple of days here.
Well, yeah, I want a couple of things I want to mention. One, Gruden, a lot of Gruden to Florida chatter. I don't know where I come out on that, Bobby. I get where people come from the setup now because of rev share and the NFL model, pro model essentially is pro models, what I should say. An NFL, ex-NFL coach. I still don't know if that's the right hire for Florida, though, guys. I don't know, man. It's like I get where people are coming from with that, but I think there's some really good college options out there that would do really well at the Florida job if given the opportunity, because I do think it's a really good job. As far as what we started with recruiting wise, I think, look, if everybody that's scheduled to be here this weekend right now that is known publicly shows up, it's a big week. Obviously, Derek Cooper. Somebody asked if Derek Cooper changes OV. When I was there last week, it was this weekend. And then he put out on social media it was going to be the 26th to 28th. And that didn't make sense to me. And I said that on the video. I was like, that didn't really make sense to me unless they just said, oh, you're coming in this weekend and you're going to go 2 weekends in a row. Because Chaminade Madonna's bye week is this week, and it's easier for the whole family to leave on a Thursday and take more of a regular official visit to Texas. So his OV is this weekend. James Johnson scheduled to be in this weekend. Corey Wells scheduled to be in this weekend. Those are the three guys right now that I think Texas, of the commitments, Texas has the biggest battles for. And especially Miami's getting a little mojo, right? They got a little mojo right now. But I think both those guys Derek Cooper and James Johnson have committed to out-of-state schools twice. Maybe they both end up at Miami December 3rd, but they both had multiple opportunities and committed to SEC out-of-state schools twice. Corey Wells, Auburn, really pushing hard. Ole Miss, obviously pushing as well. But getting him on campus, he's never been to a game at Texas. So they have a chance to kind of battle back against some of the Auburn momentum there. And I can say behind the scenes, people that cover Auburn, and all of us know a lot of people in this business, they were expecting him to flip last week, and that did not happen. So Texas is battling really hard on Corey Wells. Obviously, Braylon Hodge coming in, the Michigan State commit. I think Texas has the best chance to flip him, assuming things go well this weekend, because they all meet for the first time this weekend as a staff. Braylon Hodge, his family. That hasn't happened before. That happens this weekend. So I don't want to get ahead of it, see where all that goes. But if it goes well, then Hodge told me through direct message yesterday that the A&M weekend looks like his official visit weekend as well. So that's 2 visits set up to Texas. That's a really good sign for Texas, assuming this weekend goes well. A lot of 27 guys. There's going to be more guys added to that list. Again, I think you'll see the Texas staff on the road Thursday night high school games. North Crowley plays Thursday night, or some on Friday. I think because it's a night game against Sam Houston State, that you'll see the Texas staff on the road for the first time this year.
Just remind me, we need to do a check-in on senior film of some of the guys that are committed to Texas. Now that that's starting to happen, we'll get some of John Turntine maybe tomorrow, the big tackle.
Not many kids have put out huddle right now. They normally do it after like a third of the season, 3-4 games. So right now, been checking around, there's not a lot. We wanted to bring Corey Wells huddle, but he has nothing up right now.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. A couple other things before we just housekeeping. Maurice San Miguel and Trace Ray asking if we're going to have a tailgate. Yes, we absolutely have a tailgate. I do not have the link for that. Blake does. Blake is out of commission right now because power went off at his studio. So we'll get back to you on that, Maurice and Trace Ray, tomorrow. But for now, thank you so much to our sponsor, Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm, as well as Mint Mobile. They're at Mint Mobile. Dash on Texas, I believe, is the promo code. Ridge Wallet, the folks there, as well as everybody that joined us today. We appreciate you guys very, very much. All right, for Jerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been On Texas Football. Welcome.